So the Internet Archive, which for those who don't know, is a site that essentially archives web pages online and media. And it also tries to keep it in different points of time. So for example, you can go to techlore.tech, which is the project I manage, and you can go back and see what our site looked like last year or 5 years ago. I think the earliest one is really bad, so don't check that one out. But they've been hacked. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, all this data and all this archive data, the internet's gone. Don't worry, that's not the issue, but this still was a data breach that we want to talk about. This actually began as a pop-up. People received a JavaScript alert when they accessed the Internet Archive stating that it was breached. And they said, have you ever felt like the Internet Archive runs on sticks and is constantly on the verge of suffering a catastrophic security breach? It just happened. See 31 million of you on HIBP. HIBP is how they've been pwned, and it's a site that's dedicated to pretty much letting you know if you've been caught in a data breach. The threat actors shared the authentication database 9 days ago, and it's 6.4 gigabyte SQL file. And the database contains authentication information for registered members, including emails, screen names, password change timestamps, bcrypt hash passwords, and other internal data. The most recent timestamp on the stolen records was September 28th, 2024, likely when the database was stolen. Hunt specifically contacted the Internet Archive 3 days ago and began a disclosure process stating that the data would be loaded into the service in 72 hours, but he has not heard back since. It is not known how the threat actors breached the Internet Archive and if any other data was stolen. Earlier today, the Internet Archive suffered a DDoS attack, which has now been claimed by the Black Meta hacktivist group, who says they will be conducting additional attacks. Yeah, really interesting story. I don't know why a hacktivist group is DDoSing the Internet Archive.
Because the Internet Archive is based in America and this group claims to be pro-Palestine, and because the American government is not cracking down on Israel hard enough, therefore everyone in America must totally be pro-Israel. Because, you know, every citizen of a country absolutely 100% perfectly represents their government and their government's policies and their government's actions. We never disagree with them or anything like that.
Oh, so that's why my forum was DDoS 3 years ago. No, that was like last year.
That just bugs me. It's such a naive, stupid take.
I think that this is a really interesting story. Everyone's biggest fear out of this, I think, was the fact that maybe data from the Internet Archive was gone. And I would like to, I'm not going to do the thing where I'm just asking questions, but I am going to ask the question of, I do wonder what kind of backup methods there are for all that data. I hope that they have proper backups in place. It sounds like they do, or at least they protect that data differently, just because I think it's a really valuable resource. It's kind of like the library of the internet disappearing. So I really hope that that's something that we can continue to have going forward. And fortunately, given the stakes that could have happened in my eyes, it seems like the biggest thing that was lost here is emails for people who are registered on the Internet Archive. So if you did have an account, I hope you were using something like a simple login or Proton Pass alias. And if you weren't, make sure to update your information and get back control of your Internet Archive account once it's up and not being DDoSed.
I used Internet Archive when I called out Telegram last week about changing their FAQ and updating it to go from we've never handed over any data to we've never handed over any message data. I used the Internet Archive to go back and take a screenshot of when it used to say any data. So yeah, it's a very valuable tool. But I agree, not to like downplay this. Obviously, any data breach is bad. But I think the good news is this is probably limited to a fairly tech-savvy group of people. And these are probably people who, even if they're not using aliasing, you know, they're probably not reusing passwords. So I think that's probably a plus side. I guess this is more the silver lining. That's what I'm trying to do. I also have to throw it out there that it says they were using bcrypt to hash their passwords, which, number one, good job, Internet Archive. Bcrypt is one of the modern ones that, if I remember correctly, at this moment has no known weaknesses. And also, shame on every other company who has exponentially more money and resources than the Internet Archive and still can't be bothered to upgrade from MD5 or SHA-1 or plain text, cough, cough, Facebook. It's really bad when a donation-only organization who has a fraction of your budget is doing it better than you are. Get your life right.
You just saw a clip from Surveillance Report Clips, which comes from our main podcast, Surveillance Reports, where we cover the weekly privacy and security news in a podcast in both video and audio format. So if you want to see more stories like this and stay updated on how to keep yourself safe, check out the main podcast here on the screen, and we'll see you over there or in the next clip.